Welcome to the Single H Show presents Transparenting. My name is Joseph Mills, and today on Transparenting, I joined this podcast with immense frustration, immense anger. I am seeing some things happening that I knew that were going to happen through our Supreme Court that is drastically targeting our transgender siblings, and I need a few moments to process that. So today we do not have Single H a part of this conversation, but I can almost guarantee that our next episode will have this exact same theme, but more of the opinion of our transgender good brother Single H. But I want to talk about the level of being transparent and dealing with this fear. So there's multiple things that have been happening in this new administration that directly targeting attacks at transgender individuals. And I want to lay out what they are so that I can lay out the despair that I have as a trans parent trying to figure out what I am going to do for my kid. Here are the two things, and we're actually going to talk about three things, but the two major things that are happening at a more federal level within this current administration is a while ago there was a court case that was pushed to the Supreme Court. It was a lawsuit proposed by a transgender sibling in the state of Tennessee to fight for the opportunity to still receive gender affirming care through their doctors. And the state of Tennessee blocked it for all minors, and this was a child, their parents fighting back to try to get it to where they can have what I feel, and I'll talk about in a few minutes, truly is life-saving care for some individuals that are finally finding freedom in their identities. That went up to a Supreme Court level. It has been stated quite frequently that court case has been reviewed. The Supreme Court sided with the state of Tennessee, and now we have had a federal statement made about gender affirming care for children that now that there's a precedent, it could spread. So I have some worries for that. The other thing that the Supreme Court has done, that the federal government has done specifically during June, during Pride Month, a time that Pride has been focused on over many years, has restricted references of Pride on any federal-based platforms, and has actually also, and this is a direct attack towards our transgender siblings, they have actually shifted a new program of Title IX Awareness Month through June, which is a direct attack at our transgender siblings. So we're seeing all these things. We are seeing transgender acknowledgement taken away, even from the foundation of it all. It's with great frustration that the Stonewall area is a federal monument, so they can control what Stonewall displays. And one of those things that they have restricted Stonewall from displaying is transgender flags, and it was a transgender African American woman that threw the first stone at Stonewall. It's this erasing that's going on of identity, and it's scary for me as a trans parent, but even more intense for the person who is thriving in that, being single H. So I want to talk about these two federal things, and then we'll talk about how it drips down, and I'll talk about the third situation that I have been dealing with. I'm angry. I may actually have a hard time piecing my words together today on this podcast because I'm angry. There is this quest for control that exists in the federal level of our current administration. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And I want to proclaim in this conversation, it's against the feminine narrative. This whole thing that I'm observing happening right now is against femininity. If you hear the narrative of individuals that speak on the federal level, you would think that the only transgender individuals that there are people that are on a male to female journey. When you hear conversations about restroom restrictions, it is solely about keeping men out of women's spaces, and it's not that. There's nothing about this that's about protecting women. It's about proclaiming control. There's nothing about it. If you hear the narrative, it is always based on a conservative conversation. It's the male to female agenda that is expressed. And all I can say is it's a visual, intentional statement of this control against the feminine nature. I can expand that even further, especially as we talk about bodily autonomy for all of the female Americans that can't have the option of having an abortion. It's the control of the feminine, and it's very frustrating, and all of it's done in the proclamation of protecting someone that they're not actually trying to protect. Let me talk about one thing that I will be crucially honest with you about. I have a hard time balancing this, and it's the whole sports thing that's going on right now. Right now, the school board that I attend, that's near my worship center, their main topic is this Title IX push towards protecting girls and girls' sports. But here's the thing, that it's another example of trying to control transgender siblings, because if they actually cared about female sports, what they would do is work hard to put money into female programs. If you look at school programs across the country, specifically the school program in the school district near my worship center, they're not putting money and programs and coaches in to protect female sports or to make female sports stronger. They don't care about female sports because they don't invest in it. This whole narrative of keeping masculine individuals out of female sports, the Title IX narrative that's being pushed so much right now, is just another agenda of pushing back against the transgender our transgender siblings. If it was actually about protecting and preserving female sports, they would invest money into female sports. So there's that narrative that we are contending with. There is just this whole structure that's going on right now, and I do want to stretch into the more local level of where I'm at. I went to a school board meeting very recently, and there's this new protection of parental rights that they're trying to push through. That I just have so many issues with this. But this whole level of parental rights that they're trying to push through. And one of the narratives that they talked about was shared spaces. And the narrative that was being presented in this shared spaces conversation was this desire of allowing Christians and individual with mental disorders the opportunity to have special consideration in shared spaces. So let me share that with you. And this conversation was the main reason I went to the school board meeting that night. If you hear this, there are individuals that don't want to have their shared space because of their religious focus. And okay, I'm not debating that. That's true. There are individuals also that need special care and special consideration because of physical needs. They need to have quiet places because of emotional needs. You know, what they're presenting is completely true. But when they make a new rule and only giving people the opportunities to proclaim these things based on religious preference or physical or emotional need, they're not addressing everyone that needs it. And by not addressing everyone that actually needs that consideration, they present very hurtful language. Again, it's not about protecting people, it's about controlling our transgender siblings. I went and spoke to the school board this week and shared, when I read this is what I hear. You say that the only people that need this special consideration are Christians and people with emotional and physical disorders. You say they're the only people that need it. I, as a trans parent, know that my very mentally and emotionally and physically healthy child wants this space consideration so that he can remain within his gender identity and remain emotionally healthy and strong. So when I hear an individual say you're either a Christian that wants a religious understanding or a person with a physical or emotional disorder, and I know that there is a third category of those people, my son is not really down with the church right now. So you're probably, I can only assume that you think that a transgender person has a mental disorder, which is absolutely not true. So I'm looking at all these things, and we hear this this shared propaganda that it's about protecting someone, but it's not. There's no other means to display that it's about protecting someone else, because the only thing that you see is the harm that's being created to a transgender individual. I know that I already said this a moment ago, but I'll say it one more time. That if this truly was about protecting girls and protecting girl sports, female sports, then why are you not investing money, coaches, and training for female sports at the same level that you are masculine sports? Title IX is far more than saying that you present the same opportunity to a female that you have for a male. Title IX is actually that you need to give them the exact same opportunity by investing the same amount of money in softball as you do baseball, and girls basketball and girls wrestling as you do in the other sports. And it's not just about presenting the opportunity of having a flag football intramural team so that you have something that you can pat these young ladies on the top of their heads and say, here you go, sweetheart. It's about actually completely sharing the same opportunity. And you do not see that in these programs that are pushing, please keep the transgender kids out of female sports. We want to protect female sports. It's crap, because they have no investment in female sports. And I can see it over and over again with special considerations, and they're making it about protecting everything. and it's only about limiting a transgender. So that's the things that I've been really dealing with this week, and it really popped in my head, like when I went to the school board meeting to speak, and I had to address this statement. It's about the Christian kids and Christian values, and it's about the students that need these needs, and we need to protect their needs. Well, the transgender community needs that care as well, but by doing this, you're not helping everyone. It's that fight for that journey and acknowledgement. So I'm getting to this place right now, especially after the decision by the Supreme Court of upholding the decision in Tennessee. I'm really looking at a world that I have to consider. How do I make it possible for my child to remain healthy? I mean, all the way from parental rights, I am looking at this battle of being able to, you want to talk about parental rights, allow me to make decisions for my child. And it really drove me crazy. The one person that was fighting for parental rights, they had this conversation about books and things that book has in it, and they were the last stronghold of morality on what information is given out to the kids. And that's what one of the individuals that's always run on parental rights shared. They again, it's this other example. They don't care about parental rights because they don't defend it everywhere. To give me the opportunity to see the books, to read through them, to be able to opt my child out of a class if I don't like what's being presented, instead of just saying, no, we as a school board, we just need to put this to a stop. It's not an equal visible investment, and it's wrong. But that's what happens when that you exist in a society where control is more important than actually caring for the greater culture. So now I worry about what happens when gender affirming care is completely taken away. And it's not just transgender children, but transgender adults, and the hell that they will be put through. When I say that gender affirming care is health care, I see a vibrant spirit in my child that will be crushed to the point of me worrying about his safety if it's taken away. It's always been about control. If you want to discuss this with me, but please do. TheSingleHshow@gmail.com. TheSingleHshow@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. I'll talk to you. If you disagree with me, I'll talk to you. But I really want to, I really needed to vent and vomit all of this out today because I'm scared for my kid. I'm scared for my child. I'm pretty sure the next episode you'll hear will be Single H processing all of this on his own. So if you are a sibling, a transgender sibling, commiserate with the words of Single H in our next episode. But thank you for listening to me. My name is Joseph Mills, and this was the Single H Show. Everybody have a great week.